already and understand it already, so it'll be quick, but otherwise I'll go over it briefly. Then you can turn in the last page from the syllabus. After you're sure you understand it, we'll take any other questions about the syllabus and be able to get started with the class here. Now we had these questions. I don't think there's anybody said they were adding today. Anybody, let me just ask that question again. Anybody wasn't here last time? I don't see any hands coming up. So last time we had these same two questions, and you did it at home for a questionnaire, 54 of you. How many didn't do the questionnaire yet? About 6 or so. We're in here, haven't done it yet. It should be closed now, so you can't do that anymore, but those who are late should do the pre-test. This is not for a grade, but it's to get an experience. Don't interrupt people that are trying to pay attention. It's to get an experience of what it's like to take the tests in here. And hopefully you'll do better later, but there should be an improvement, just as there is on this one. Now, last time we asked the question, I said how many thought the issue was the shape of the earth. A lot of hands went up. That's not the right answer, but that's what a lot of people seem to think. If we went by the majority of people who haven't had history, even though it's in the California curriculum, they were supposed to teach this to you if you're a student in the state of California. People from the media pick up wrong information. That was the point I was making last time. A lot of wrong information about psychology, but wrong information about a lot of topics, including basic history. Now, is Columbus somebody that is well known in this country? Well, we have the capital of the country. It's called D.C., the District of Columbia, named after Columbus. We have Columbus, Ohio. We have the Columbia River. Right? We have a lot of cities called Columbus besides Columbus, Ohio. Columbian Exposition. We have Columbus Day in October, celebrated as a holiday here. So he's a pretty famous person in this country. We have nations named after him, Columbia. But what was the issue? Well, the issue had to do with the size of the earth. So most of the people that did it online got that right now. And so I was greatly relieved to see that. This class did better than usual. After I lecture about it, still half the people are saying it was a shape. After that lecture last time, I thought it was pretty clear. I think I'm pretty clear each time. But they just don't hear it because they didn't expect me to say that. They thought it had something to do with the shape. It's the size of the earth. And who was right? The scholars were right. They knew the earth, everybody agreed the earth was a sphere. Not exactly a sphere, but it's pretty close to spherical shape. And we'll go over this. How many got this right today? Hopefully most of you did. About 90% got it right on the online, so hopefully 90% or more got it right here today. Define psychology is the science of behavior. But if you wrote the study of alternative explanations, of the actions of living beings, that would be fine, or any combination. You could have said it's the study of alternative explanations of behavior, or you could have said it's the science of the action living beings, or any other combination of those. That would have qualified. How many got that right this time? Okay, not got it right. Not too many people want to volunteer they got it right. In this class, it's safe to say you got it right. Some classes are not safe. I'll explain that after the midterm. Some classes you're in danger if you explain that you got it right. In this class, you're not in danger. You don't have to worry about that. All right, here's what's to do next. If you didn't do the pre-test, go ahead and do it. Looks like 54 or so people have done it already, at least as of about 15 minutes ago. Do homeworks numbers 2 and number 3. You're going to view a video. You need a computer with access to the internet. You need a computer with access to the internet to do it. You'll need to get to titanium. Anybody have any questions about getting to titanium? Was that a problem? You may want to see Kyle here, who can show you how to get on the internet. He'd be happy to show you how to do that if you don't know how to find titanium. All right, nobody's raised their hand. Now let's go over the research requirement. I assigned you to read this just in case there's a question. So there's a requirement due the last day of class. And you can do it either by being in experiments, and you can do 5 hours worth of experiments. You're going to get a SONA account. The SONA account, you should get an email by about the 3rd week of school. Usually it's during the 3rd week that enrollment, some people add classes or drop classes, so they don't know who's in a class just yet. Once the enrollment is stabilized around the 3rd week of school, you get an email. Check your campus email. Check your spam folder, because this is being sent by a server from off campus, from a group called the SONA systems people that are coordinating it for us. So check your spam folder. If you didn't get that message, then you contact this email right here that's in your syllabus, researchadmin@fullerton.edu, and say that you don't have the account. All right? When you get on, you'll log into the SONA system. You'll give yourself a password that you can remember to get in. So they will send you a password. You use that to get in and then change it to something you can remember to get in. Then there will be studies that appear. Studies don't appear throughout the semester uniformly. So for the first few weeks, there aren't too many studies. Then it peaks in the middle of the semester, then it falls off a bit toward the end. There'll be lots of studies that you can do from about the 10th to the 13th week or so of class. That's the time when it's easy to find lots of studies to sign up for. Toward the beginning, there aren't so many studies to sign up for, but if you can do them before, so it's a little bit harder in here, but there are a number of investigators who will be testing before the 8th week of class. Before the midterm, the Friday of the midterm exam, if you do it, you will get a bonus, which means that if you do 2.5 hours before that deadline, you will actually have 3.5 hours worth of credit in your account. So there's a bonus for being early. If you don't do it by the 15th week, the requirement goes up to 7 hours by the final exam. If you don't do it by the final exam, you get an incomplete in the course, no matter what your grade would have been. Well, actually, if you were going to fail, you'd fail, but if you're going to pass, you'd end up with an incomplete, and then you have to do something to get rid of it. So you need to do this. It otherwise doesn't affect your grade, but in order to get a grade, you have to do it. So you can do 5 hours of experiments, or you can write papers. You don't have to do any experiments. So you can do 5 papers. Each one's 4 pages. Or you can do any combination. You could do 4 hours of experiments and 1 paper, 1 4-page paper, any combination that totals 5. Some of the experiments are worth 2 hours. It takes you 2 hours to do, and you get 2 hours worth of credit. Some experiments are worth 1.5 hours. If you do 2 of those, that's 3 hours worth of credit, and so on. All right? So you'll log into the system. You'll find studies and sign up for them. You will not see studies a lot at first. There will be more and more opportunities as the semester runs on. If you want to be in experiments, don't wait till the last week. There aren't as many opportunities to be in experiments because most of the people collecting data this semester are graduate students who have papers due at the end, and they're writing their paper already. They're not still collecting data the last week of school. Their paper might be due the last week of school. So they're already done collecting data. So the number of experiments drops off right at the last minute. That's one of the reasons they try to encourage you with this bonus to do it by the midterm, by the end of the midterm exam week. For other questions, so you write to Research Admin. If you have another problem, you can write to D. Gerkens at Fullerton. you'll find a study that you want to sign up for. When you sign up for it, be sure that you know who's running it, where it is, what the date of it is, and the time and the place. If you go to on the wrong date, you'll go to a classroom where some other class is in session. You'll say, I'm here for the experiment. They'll say, I'm teaching a history class here. They say, yeah, but I signed up for an experiment on Tuesday. They say, yeah, well, today is Wednesday. We've got a history class in here. So if somebody has scheduled a room, you can't just go there and expect to find the experimenter there, typically. All right, so you've got to go the right day, the right time, the right place. Okay? If you don't cancel, you can cancel 24 hours in advance and there's no penalty, but if you don't cancel and you don't show up, you get a negative credit, which means you then owe another hour. Sometimes students miss an experiment and they think, they look in their account, they don't see the negative credit, they say, good, I got away with it, that person didn't turn it in. But some experimenters are a little slow to turn in their negative credits. So suddenly at the end of the semester, all of a sudden a negative credit shows up and you owe an hour you forgot that you owed because you missed an experiment. So keep track. If you miss one, they're going to get you eventually. They may be slow to give you the negative credit and have it show up in the SONA account. All right? So once you sign up, be sure you can make it, but you can cancel up to 24 hours in advance. All right? So you need to show up on time. They can give you a negative credit. If you sign up for an experiment during class, you'll get no credit for it. So don't sign up for anything that happens during class. Don't plan anything that conflicts with this class time. So attendance at the class is required. You shouldn't sign up for anything that happens during class. Now the experimenters are allowed to bore you, but they're not allowed to ask you to do anything illegal, dangerous, immoral or improper. And if they do, you have the right to refuse. So if somebody asks you to do something that isn't right or isn't right for you, say by accident you signed up for something that says, judging how sweet Kool-Aid is, and you show up and it's a religious holiday, you're not supposed to eat anything, you're not allowed to do that. So just go ahead and tell them, I have a religious objection, I have to leave. You can refuse. Be sure to explain it to them when you leave so that you don't get a no-show, but you don't have to do anything that isn't right. And come explain it to us. But don't sign up for one that you know you can't do. They usually have a description. Usually descriptions are sort of boring things like filling out questionnaires, looking at a screen, and if something appears here, you push the right button, and if something appears there, you push the left button, or put on earphones and listen. Maybe there's music in one ear and there's talking in the other ear, and you have to respond to it. Maybe it's a cognitive task, maybe it's a memory task, maybe it's some other sort of psychological experiment. Experiments that are posted in SONA have been reviewed. Everything should be on the up and up and safe, but if somebody asks you to do something that's improper, you should realize you have the right to refuse. Let us all know about it. Now you don't have to be in any experiments. You can write papers instead. Either assignment is due the last day of class. So either papers, bring those the last day of class, or be sure your SONA account has 5. You don't need to bring anything if your SONA account shows you have the 5 hours in the account. Any questions about that for now? I know you've read this. I don't want to spend time we don't have to. No questions about that? You could also write papers. Here's the description of how to do that. You could write 5 papers and do no experiments, or you could do some experiments and some papers. You could do all papers, so whatever mixture you want with a total of 5. Some experiments are half an hour. You can also write a half a paper, which is a 2-page paper. All the articles should come from the journal called American Psychologist. They can help you find that. You have access to it online through the library, through the campus library. You can go to the library. They can help you get access to it if you can't figure out how to get to the journal. You can read it for the last articles from the journal American Psychologist from the end of the semester backwards. You can count. So they have to be from the 9 issues prior to the end of this semester. The end of this semester is in May, so you can count backwards from May. You can go backwards, so January, February, March, April, May, go back to December of last year, and choose articles from American Psychologists. It's written in your own words, it's typed, you know, put it in your word processor with the margins are specified in here, so the instructions for doing that are all explained in here, what size font, what size margins, and everything else. Any questions about that? So that's papers, all right? All right, why don't you go ahead and pass forward then the sheet if there's no questions about the syllabus. Any other questions about the syllabus? And you read the advice page about being students. It's a good idea. Attend every lecture, pay close attention in class, take good notes, form study groups with other people, take advantage of Jeff Barra or Kyle Smith here, who are here to help you and answer questions for you. If you have a question about something, come up after class. Raise your hand if you have a question about the subject matter we're dealing with in class. Go ahead and raise your hand and ask the question during class. If it goes on too long, I'll tell you to see me after class, but usually if it's a question about the material, other people have the same question. Any question about the quizzes here? All right. Any question about the syllabus or the requirements for the course? Any question about the homework? You need to get to that through Titanium. And as I say, from looking at the questionnaire, it looks like the... do you happen to remember about what percent said it was the shape of the Earth?
Couldn't get the pie chart in Google Drive working, but...
Okay. Who's going to make a pie chart for us, I guess?
I was, but instead I just have a histogram. Let me pull it up really quick.
Well, that's okay. Just a quick percentage would give us an idea. So we have some evidence of learning going on, which is always a good thing. All right.
So out of 63 people, looks like 27 said it was about the shape of the Earth.
27 said it had to do with the shape of the Earth. How many said size?
The size.
With two hands. Yes.
I had a quick question on attendance. I understand it's required. Do we not have the same, like, 2 class miss rule here as well, or no?
What is the rule that you heard of?
Where you're allowed to miss at least 2 days?
I
or 2
never
class
heard of that rule
periods?
in my life.
No? Okay.
Maybe you can explain to me the reference to that rule. But
Oh, no, just like, I don't know, every other class I have or had said that you're allowed to
had
miss
a
2.
class where you're allowed to miss. There may be some
Two class
instructor allows you to
periods.
miss 2, otherwise you get a withdrawal, an unexcused withdrawal or something.
Yeah, like you have 2
But you can explain to me, that's after
Okay.
class kind of question. You can bring that up and explain to me who that instructor is, because I never heard of it before in my life. Basically, the rule I always heard was, even though they don't tell you attendance is required in all classes. Now, in this class, it's required. Some instructor might have some other kind of rules, and that, you know, I'll be interested to know who the instructor is and what their rules are. But there are things like online classes where you do it, you know, whatever your pace is.
Oh, will they be dropped if they miss 2 classes?
Not in this class. I'm not going to bother to do that in this class, so we're not going to drop you. But basically, the way to think about it is students that choose to drop a class are putting their success in the class at risk. They don't realize it yet, but when a person chooses to miss a class, they're still responsible for the material they miss. So you shouldn't really plan to miss anything. You basically, if you can't help it, you're sick or you have a fever or you have an accident or something, people miss classes. You miss a plane, you know, can't get back from spring break. Sometimes you have emergencies, you know, but you shouldn't plan anything to miss. Question?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think it's like the rule, not that you can miss 2 classes, but it's if you miss the 3rd that your teacher can lower your grade by a letter
Yeah,
grade.
that's the one I'm talking about.
Oh, so they're grading you by your attendance. We're not grading you by attendance, you're getting extra credit for doing it here. And I'm trying to inform you, but it's up to, I mean, that's some class. You can tell me what class that is, if some instructor has that policy, but that's not university policy. So that's up to some individual instructor. All right. There are some places where basically because your attendance is required for the state to give money to the institution, they require the people to attend, because if the people don't attend, they don't get the money for it. So, but anyhow, let's go on with this here. What I'm trying to communicate to you is the information that not all students seem to realize, which is when you miss class, something happened that you missed, you know, and you're still responsible for that. In high school, sometimes they have the attitude that, well, if it's a good day to go skiing, go skiing. We don't do anything in here anyway, you know. If it's a nice day and a good skiing day, go ahead and skip the class, you can make it up. We're not really teaching anything in here.